What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey.
And I'm HP.
And welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something we have never done before. In fact, I've never done it on my main channel either. And we are going to be breaking down our entire car sharing fleet. We're going to be going over every single vehicle we own, some of the problems that these vehicles have, and how much we paid for each car. So let's get started. So today we have a lot of cars coming back today from rentals, and before they go back out on more rentals, we thought that this would be a perfect time to break down our fleet so that you guys can actually see what cars we're renting out. We've made a lot of videos about us buying new cars, but we've never really covered the cars that we've owned for months. And so this is the perfect time to do that. And we're going to start it off with our Honda Accord.
So this is our 2011 Honda Accord, and this is a EX if I'm not mistaken. The trim level signifies that it does have some of the nicer things that people would like automatic windows, door locks, and even leather on the inside as well. So definitely one of our nicer, more trimmed out vehicles on our Turo platform, but this one has seen a little bit better days. It has a tan interior, so it gets dirty pretty quick. Now with this being one of our bigger sedans, this vehicle does get rented out pretty well, but it definitely does get a lot of miles put on it frequently. So I think we got this car with right about 100,000 miles, and right now we're sitting right at 155,000 miles, and we hadn't had this car for maybe,
I didn't think that we had 155. I completely lost track of the mileage of this car. It's racking up mileage a lot. We got it probably about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, just about.
So like HP just said, we got this car about 2.5 years ago, and the way that we purchased this car was a bit different compared to other cars that we've purchased in the past. My sister was dating a guy for a while. She co-signed on a car loan for this guy. They broke up, and she didn't want him to keep the car because it would risk ruining her credit, but she also couldn't afford the car either because she's a teacher and doesn't make a ton of money. So we took over the car payment for her. So basically we just took the car, and we've been making the monthly payments on her behalf ever since. And to be honest, this car is kind of a hit or a miss. It's one of our more expensive cars because of that monthly payment, and it has had some issues in the past.
The only things that we really had to fix on this vehicle is the AC went out pretty soon after we got the vehicle, so we had to replace the entire AC system, so the condenser, the compressor, and the dryer, and some of the lines as well. So it was a very big job to tackle at the time, because Aubrey and I not only were juggling both our independent jobs, but also this new vehicle that we needed to make money because of that monthly payment. And on top of that, it's been a pretty solid car, but it has eaten up things like tires due to a bad wheel bearing, so I replaced wheel bearing not too long after that, and then even things like an O2 sensor. But overall, this car does get a lot of miles put on it, and the more miles you put on cars, the more stuff breaks. I'd probably give this like a solid 8 out of 10 in terms of all of our Turo cars. I like this car. What about you?
I think price aside, I would give it an 8 out of 10, but I think the problem with Hondas is that they're so expensive, and I don't think, I'll pay Toyota prices all day long because I'm such a Toyota fangirl, and I think that they are really, really high quality cars, but I think I've been disappointed with the quality of the Honda more than I would have thought, and I think that the high price, you would expect a higher quality, so I'm gonna vote a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Next we have our 2007 Toyota Yaris.
Alright, so this is definitely going to be Aubrey's 10 out of 10 car. I can already tell because she loves Yarises, but I like Yarises too, and this car may not have all of the bells and whistles like automatic windows and automatic doors and anything else, but this car is a very good looking car on the outside. It's been one of our most reliable, and with this generation of Toyota Yaris, this is our last of this generation Toyota Yaris. We just recently bought another one, which you'll see soon. But this vehicle is the lone survivor. We had 2 powder blue ones and 1 silver, and those 2, Bayou blue, are no longer with us. So without further ado, this car is minty. Now this car is not as base as they come. Technically this car does have an automatic transmission. It does have a radio AM and FM with a CD player, and it does have air conditioning, which is an option for this vehicle.
Is it?
Yeah, whenever you bought this car, it's optional with air conditioning.
Wow.
Northern Climates didn't get it. You did get a heater though.
So we got this car for about $3,500, and despite the fact that this car is small, it's very manual, the car is a consistent renter. I mean, I've said it so many times on my main channel as well as this channel, is that if I could just only buy Yarises, I would 100% do it. This car is so sturdy, it has no issues, it's consistently rented out, it's just a really good car. Yeah, knock on glass on that one. So HP, what do you rate it?
hate to say it, probably say 10 out of 10 for this car. This is, I mean, the most low maintenance, and I love seeing this car go in and out of, you know, rentals. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. From a host perspective, I would say a 10 out of 10. The one downside is the fact that you do have to go after those renters that are looking for a cost-effective car, because getting a car that is, you know, this small, that is manual locks and windows, it is a niche vehicle because of that you're gonna get those renters that just simply don't want this car, which I do think brings it down from a guest perspective.
Now, this is not a Turo car. This is actually our get-around rental car, and this is a 2009 Scion Xd with about 185,000 miles. This is pretty much like a Scion Toyota Yaris. It's definitely quite a different looking car. It definitely screams economy, but this car has electric windows, door locks, and everything else, and 4 doors instead of 2. So this is like a fancy Toyota Yaris, if you will.
So this car on the inside is super clean, and I think that it's one of those things that, like, on the inside, the car is significantly nicer than the Yaris, I would say. But
Yeah.
on the outside, I personally like the look of the Yaris better. I think that the outside of this car is a bit ugly.
Yeah, it's not a very
And this
attractive
car specifically has kind of worn paint. The paint is peeling off, so it's definitely not like the most eye-catching car out there. Now, as far as ranking, how would you go?
Man, I'd probably say like a solid 7 out of 10. I feel like this car, like you said, it's nice overall. Mechanically, it's very sound, but it definitely does have a little bit of wear. I'm gonna say 7 out of 10.
For me, it's, well, a few things that I want to rate my rating on. The car itself, I would agree, is like a 7 out of 10. I think the interior brings it up, the exterior brings it down. We've had the car for about how long? 3 months? 2 months, 3 months? And it hasn't had any issues. Granted, it was in an accident not long ago, which kind of brought the looks of the car down a bit. But I'm gonna bring down my rating, like, overall from a host perspective, to 6, because we paid $4,500 for this car, which I've mentioned to you a number of times that I feel like we overpaid. Looking back, I think we spent too much money on this car. It's also listed on Get Around, which I think has been a bit underwhelming, but more on that in another video. And I overall think that for the price, this car wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it is kind of hard. I mean, if we got this car cheaper, I think it may probably be more worth it. But yeah, that's where I'm standing. 7 out of 10, and you're 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. The next one is our 2007 Ford Focus.
So when we got this car, it started off on the wrong foot. It had a leaky ABS module, and we got sent the wrong part. And then next thing you know, we did get sent the right part, but it is entirely hard to replace that piece. So right off the bat, it needed some maintenance, which is fine. We got this actually for a decent price, but it has been beaten up it's pretty weathered. I mean, we have a lot of scratches, dents, and dings on this vehicle, but alas, it's been pretty reliable. This is a difficult one. It has nicer features like automatic windows and door locks, and it does have a very nice AC system, and it blows nice and chilly, but this is definitely one of the more rougher diamonds.
So this car to date is the cheapest car we've ever purchased. It's also our cheapest car on the platform, like for a trip daily price. We're renting this car for less than $25 per day. It fluctuates depending on the time of the year and what's going on, but it has consistently rented for probably on average $23 per day since we got the car. But we purchased the car for $2,300, which is the cheapest we've ever bought a car for.
Solid 6 out of 10. I mean, this car hasn't given us a lot of problems where we'd have to pull it off of the platform, but it is not the nicest.
I would say 6 out of 10 as well. I think it's great for people that want a cheap car and that have like the expectation of not getting something that is super nice. Like this is one, and I've talked about this on my main channel a lot, is setting expectations with the guests from like the moment they book with you by letting them know like, hey, this car isn't perfect, it's cheap, it has wear and tear, and this is definitely an example of that. It does well because we manage expectations, but it certainly isn't super nice. It's reliable, it is of course safe and mechanically sound, and it's pretty economical, but other than that, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it.
It's a very point A to point B car. What do you rank it?
6 out of 10, I agree with you.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah.
Up next is our 2010 Honda Fit, one of the newest vehicles we have on our platform.
The newest.
The newest car. I already like this car. I can tell you for a lot of reasons why. It's very egg-shaped, but this car is pretty freaking cool, and I feel like we got a pretty okay deal for it. I mean, it is another Honda, but this Honda does have a lot of space. I think it provides some pretty good value. Doesn't look like a lot until you go shablam, shablam, and look at all the room for activities you have.
I actually didn't know that it had that.
Yeah. And then watch this. You pull that back up, and whenever you fold these seats down, assuming that seat wasn't pushed all the way back, it goes flat, flat.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have a lot of room. I think this car was specifically designed for like college students that were moving out of their parents' house because it just makes too much sense of how much space it has. Overall, I like this vehicle a lot. It's a very clean looking car. The paint's very good on it. Down here on top, it's a little faded and it's losing a little bit, but it's just so fast that the paint just flies right off of it. Now this car does have, you know, electric windows and door locks, and it does have a remote to unlock the door from the outside. This car is just overall clean. It's definitely a to B car, but it is an A to B car plus a pro model.
I disagree with you. I don't think that this is an A to B car. I think that this is a like
weekend fun hit the trails car.
Okay. Every car that we have is an ADB car if you're using that type of logic with it. But I'm saying in the sense that if you were renting a car that you just needed to go from point A to point B and you didn't need to do anything else with it, the Yaris, it definitely fits that description. The red Focus fits the description. But this car is pretty spacious. And
it's
so
an
if
A to
you
B
needed
plus.
to move,
yeah.
I don't think that does it justice. I think this is the first time I'm in this car since we purchased it. So I haven't been in this car in like a month, and I think it's nicer than what I remember it. I'm gonna jump the gun here. I'm gonna dispute your A to B claim, say that that is not true. This is nicer than an A to B car. And I'm gonna say that this is a 9 out of 10. But it just got returned on its first rental.
That's exactly what actually I was going to say. 9 out of 10 for this car. Next up is the other booger and the other side of the nostril of our Turo fleet. And this is our 2009 Hyundai Accent. Now this is not moving at the moment, which is going to be a big hindrance on my rating for this vehicle. But as you can see, it is a hatchback. It is one of the nicer GLS trim models too. And you can see no leather, but a lot of cool stuff in this vehicle. Now, can't even start up this vehicle, unfortunately. Had a buddy come out here and help me diagnose what was wrong with this vehicle, and we just couldn't figure out why the car wasn't turning on. It made no sense. Everything checked out fine. The fuel, the battery, the starter, you name it.
And it was so random.
So random. And even the person driving it said it was just backing out of my driveway, and it just stopped backing out. So, turns out, it has a pretty significant engine failure on the top end, and it's going to require some heavy-duty work to get this thing back and running. Now, when it was running, I think it was a very fine vehicle and was the sole reason why we wanted to keep looking at Hyundais in our fleet. And now it's the sole reason why we're getting rid of all of our Hyundais, except for one in our fleet. So, if I had to rate this vehicle before it went out of service, I'd probably say a solid, like, 8 out of 10. Condition was fine.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. And how much did we buy that vehicle for?
We bought it for like 33, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know offhand, but it was under 35, but it was over 3. So it was about 33. I agree with you. My rating before the issue is 8 out of 10, but what's your rating after?
Oh, I mean, right now, 3 out of 10. Should have known.
I'd say 5 out of 10. Because I'm confident that you can fix it. Right now, we got all of our cars like kind of worked out other than this one. So this is HP's biggest project right now, but it's still in the daunting phase of things because it's still sitting outside of our house. We haven't even moved it into the garage yet. So it's still, I think, in that phase of like, you're just dreading it.
Yeah, I'm dreading it. It's just sitting there. It's a constant reminder that this car is broken and it's just going to take a lot of work. So, yeah. The only thing worse about not knowing about what's wrong with the vehicle is knowing it's wrong and realizing it's going to be a lot of work.
Now, this is one that I didn't even want to include on this list because I felt like you can't rate something that has literally not moved from this spot in over a year, but HP wanted to include it. And that is our Ford Transit van.
Now, not only is this the newest vehicle that we have as one of our fleet vehicles, but also the lowest mileage of all of our vehicles.
This is our newest car.
Yeah, newest?
It's a 2015.
It has 16-something thousand miles on it. I like this van. I like it a lot. Number one, it's a Ford, and I'm bonkers about Fords. I used to drive vans, and this is by far a lot nicer of a van that I used to drive, which was a Ram Promaster. Overall, mechanically, this vehicle is spotless. The downside, which is probably going to base Aubrey's rating, is that we've been working so hard on this van for such a long time. It's been an eyesore, so that's gonna bring her rating down significantly.
I can't even rate something that I've driven one time. I've literally only driven this van once. And it's been sitting here since last year. I feel like
how did it feel when you drove it?
It felt good. I don't feel comfortable driving I don't feel comfortable driving really large cars. I don't consider myself to be a good driver like HP, and I drove it from Oklahoma, so.
I'm gonna rate this van. Once we get it done and we finally get driving, I think it's gonna be awesome. You're gonna shoot up to a 10 out of 10. Right now, I'm gonna say solid 8 out of 10, just because it's not moving anywhere, but it's a nice van. So rating it on the basis that you drove it all the way from Oklahoma to here, and once we have it done, it's gonna be super nice.
So taking away my hostility for the fact that this has been a drawn-out project for a year?
Well, include some of it.
6 out of 10.
Oh, 6 out of 10, but it's a sharp van, so.
It's a sharp van. I like the van. I definitely have a love-hate relationship with the van. I feel like some days I love it. I'm so glad we bought it, and some days I'm like on the verge of just selling it as is.
It's just very needy. It's a very needy vehicle.
Needy van. Needy van. So unfortunately, those are all the cars that we have coming back today, and so all the other ones we'll just have to talk about, but that's okay. If they're not here, it means that they're making us money, so to be honest, I would prefer for them not to be here. But the next one on the list is our Hyundai Sonata, the blue/purple one that we've mentioned a few times on this channel so far.
Blurple. We'll talk about the Hyundai's condition in another video, but I'd probably have to rate this one just right off the bat a solid 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10? I was actually surprised that that's what you gave that.
More or less.
I was expecting less from you. I don't know. It's the thing is that we have a video plan for the Hyundai. There's been a lot that has gone on with the Hyundai recently, so we don't want to give away too much, but I know that HP has been frustrated with the Hyundai, but there has been a light at the end of the tunnel with it. And so, I don't know. I mean, I would say 7 out of 10, but I was expecting like a 3 out of 10 from you.
Nah, I mean, not a 3 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Overall, the car's a pretty nice car. We've had it detailed, and it's pretty spotless on the inside, too. But I'd say 7 out of 10. I'm sticking with that one. It's not a bad car.
7 out of 10, and I guess it will be pending what video we have planned in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Next is our 2009 Mercedes-Benz. Now, you guys may remember this car. We purchased it about, I don't know, like 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, at the beginning of summer. We purchased it from my parents, and we paid, how much did we pay? $6,000?
Yeah, just about.
$6,000 for that car. Now, what are your thoughts on the Mercedes?
I like the car. I'm gonna say, like, I'm a big fan of cars that are well-rounded, and I think the cost to maintain this vehicle may be a little higher, but I'm gonna say a 10 out of 10 on this vehicle. I like this vehicle a lot. I
was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, overall, it's been very reliable. The maintenance intervals are very spread out. They're like a 10,000 mile maintenance interval because they have 2 giant air filters, and the oil is like a huge capacity of oil. So it doesn't need to be done near as often as any of our other vehicles. It's low maintenance. It's a very clean car, and I don't have anything really bad to say about it other than it just being a German car.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Mercedes has been, I would say, a surprise, because it's funny because my parents had been selling that car for a while, and my dad had suggested to us about 8 months ago around Christmas to buy it from him, and at the time HP said no, he didn't want to buy the car because he was worried that the car would have too much maintenance, and especially because we owned a Mercedes in the past. It didn't do well, it had a ton of issues, and it just simply wasn't worth it. And so the Mercedes has been, I think, a pleasant surprise. The renters have been pretty decent. The costs so far on the car have been pretty good, and it's been on 12 trips, and so it's been going on quite a lot of trips lately, and for $6,000 I think that you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, so 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10 for me as well.
Awesome. Up next is our 2008 Ford Escape. Now, this one is a limited, so it does have all the nice creature comforts that were available in 2008, like a sunroof, black leather interior, V6 engine, front-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, and I think this car is probably one of the more well-rounded vehicles next up to the Mercedes as far as just interior, exterior condition. It's a good-looking car.
It's a nice car. It's getting high in mileage, and I do think it's starting to look a little older because it is starting to get some wear and tear. Now, the Black Escape is one of the cars that we have shown probably the least on the channel because it's always rented out. It's consistently been a really good performer. We bought it in, I don't know, like
It's one of our
2018.
It's one of our older
We've
cars.
had it for a long time. It's
Yeah.
one of our older cars for sure. We bought it for $4,500, and it was our highest performing car in 2020. So it was the best performing car. It's consistently done very, very well. HP likes it a lot, and we bought it from a Ford mechanic.
Yeah, and that was kind of the main reason why we bought these cars. Typically, we stay away from this year model of Escape because of the known unreliability of the transmission issues, but the Ford technician that we actually bought it from bought it with a damaged transmission. So he went through, fixed the entire transmission exactly how it's supposed to be fixed, and ever since then, I mean, it's been a clean riding vehicle. I got my seal of approval because he did all the perfect maintenance that needed to be done. It was less work for me to deal with in the future, and overall, it's been a great decision to have that vehicle.
So what's your rating?
Man, I'd probably have to say 9 out of 10 for this one. Right about 9 out of 10. It's a very well-deserving car. It's made us a lot of money, so.
Yeah, it's good. I like the Ford Escape, and I think that I could see ourselves keeping that once we retire it. So it's a good car. So 9 out of 10. Highly recommend the Ford Escape, though you can't get a 2008 any longer and rent it on Turo as it is too old. Next is our 2011 Mazda 2.
This is one of our newer arrivals that we've gotten this year, and I like this vehicle. I like this vehicle quite a bit. Aubrey and I actually did a Turo rental in Hawaii when we went on vacation, and we drove a Mazda 3, the bigger brother to the Mazda 2, and we liked that car quite a lot. I mean, we drove this all the way up and down Hawaii, which is like an hour of driving to an hour and a half, but truthfully, it probably, like, if it was Texas speed, it would have taken us maybe
We did
half
like
the time.
600-700 miles in a week
Yeah.
in the Mazda 3, and it worked really well. I had never, I don't think either of us ever considered getting a Mazda until we went to Hawaii.
No.
And then I think now it's one I consistently look for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fit and finish in the entire vehicle is really nice. The buttons, the feel, the drivability, everything was just right in that vehicle. And the Mazda 2 is a hatchback, and it's a four-door, has a lot of good interior room for front and second row seating. Not a lot of cargo room, but overall, this car is a very, very clean car. This is one of my favorites as well. I'm going to say 10 out of 10 on this one, too.
The problem is it's kind of too early to tell. It's only been on 9 rentals, but I would say 10 out of 10 too. But I think it'll be interesting if we do this exact same video in like a year and see how things are panning out, because it is too early to tell. But I do agree with HP. It's 10 out of 10. It was only $5,000. I think the car is one of the cleanest ones we own. It's just all around a good car, for sure. I like it quite a lot. And next is another one of my love children, a 2012 Toyota Yaris.
Now, this Toyota Yaris is a little bit different than our 2007 that we have, the silver one. This vehicle is the revamp year for the Toyota Yaris, and it came with more stuff, like automatic
locks.
windows, electric locks, and a key fob that unlocks the doors. You don't have to go up and stick a key in. So it definitely does have a lot more updated interior and exterior looks to the vehicle. This one, I feel like we actually got at a pretty decent price considering Yarises are hard to find, and this is a newer one, and we've only ever had older ones, 3 exactly older ones. So I like this vehicle quite a bit. I think overall it's a very clean looking vehicle inside and out. It does have a little bit of blemishes here and there on the outside, and I don't think it's deserving of a 10 out of 10, even though it does bear the name Yaris, and a Toyota at that. So I'm gonna say, man, a hard 8 on this one.
What?
I'm gonna say 8. I was gonna say 7, but I'm gonna go 8 on this one. Overall, I don't have anything bad to complain about. Yeah.
The problem, you know what the problem is? I know what the problem is with Yaris, is that with our 2007 Yaris, we paid $3,500 for it, which is like a good deal. For the 2012 Yaris, we paid $65.
Yeah.
Which does bring it from being a 10 out of 10 to being I hate to agree with you, but I think an 8 out of 10. The question is, what would you prefer, the Mazda or the Yaris? Like the Mazda at 5 or the Yaris at 65?
Ooh. That Yaris at 65?
Basically if you had to choose between our two cars, which one would you choose?
Mazda. That Mazda is such a clean car. I mean, it is a clean car inside and out.
I'd have to go with Yaris, but really just because of the fact that the mileage, the 2007 Yaris has no issues and it's so old. So, but I agree with HP. I think that the white Yaris is nice. I think it does have dents and dings. I think it's not perfect, and because of that, mixed with the fact that it was a pretty high price, I think one of the more expensive. It was more expensive than the Mercedes.
Yeah.
More expensive than the Mercedes. I think it can't be a 10 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for me too.
8 out of 10? Skipping the 9.
Yeah,
all right, right there.
Breaks my heart. All right, so that brings our total current count to 12 active car sharing cars, and that includes the van, which isn't, I guess, active. So that brings us to 11 active cars, 12 in the fleet. You know, in our last video, we talked about selling some cars, and so those cars are not included in this count for obvious reasons. We're selling them, we don't like them, and so why would we take the time to rate them? But that is our current count. Now, we do have plans to bring that count up to 20 cars by the end of the year. That is, of course, pending the fact that we can find cars at a good deal, because we do not want to overpay for cars just for the sake of getting 20 of them.
So, as always, guys, thanks for joining us. Now you got a little peek of our favorite vehicles and unfavorite vehicles in our Turo fleet. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next video.